Howdy folks, I hope this video finds you all well and safe. The spring has really kicked my butt this year and I've caught every bug that's gone around. Clearly I'm fighting off something now, so excuse my voice. I would have waited until my voice was a little bit better quality for recording, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity to show you a wild edible that you can take advantage of right now, and that's the mulberry, and that's this tree that's right behind me. The mulberry is native here in North America. I do believe that it's endangered in parts of Canada now, but it is plentiful and bountiful here. I have read that people are starting to cultivate it commercially and such, so hopefully in the next few years it makes a comeback. I really don't know why it's not more widespread. It has a really heavy, it's a heavy bearing tree. It bears a lot of fruit. They're really tasty. So yeah, fingers crossed in the next few years we'll see more of it. But the squirrels and the fruit-loving little birdies, like the orioles and let's say the tangers and such, they really love the fruit of these trees. So if we're gonna get any enough to do anything with as far as baking or whatnot, you're gonna have to get out and get them now before they get to them. You know, you want to save some for the little critters, but it's all right to take a little bit for yourself. But in my region, they flower in April, mid-April, and then they produce their berries 3 to 4 weeks later, depending on the sun and the weather and whatnot. And the large berry, or the large ripe berries, like I said, have a taste that's very similar to a wild blackberry. Wild blackberries, in my part of the woods at least, have a little bit of a tanginess. No matter how ripe they are, even though they have that sweet, they have that little bit of sour that kind of follows along with it. But mulberries, if you get the right ones and you get really ripe ones, they don't have that sour taste, and they're absolutely delicious. So yeah, you can eat them in a similar fashion. Eat them straight off the tree. You can dry them for preservation. You can can them and keep them for later. You can cook them in cobblers. You can make jelly. Well, maybe not jelly. It's got a lot of seeds, so jams and preservatives, pies, cobblers. And mulberry wine. So you don't want to miss out on that. They're a good source of iron and vitamin C. If I haven't said that, the leaves are edible. I personally have not ate a mulberry leaf straight off the tree. Like some people say, you can eat it like a salad, as long as you don't do too much. Too much of any wild thing can kind of make you sick. But some people say you can eat them raw. You can cook them and eat them. I can't really attest to how they taste because I've never ate more than just like a small taste of some of these things, especially because I have a lot of allergies. I'm not real sure what they all are, so I tread with, easy, but I have certainly ate so many berries. You can steep the leaves fresh or dried and make a tea. That's something that if you're interested in, you might want to do a little research. And also with anything that you eat from the wild, make sure you consult with someone local so that they can point you in the right direction and make sure 100% that you're harvesting from the correct plant or tree. So if that sounds tasty to you, you're interested in it, hang with me. I'm going to get this camera off the tripod and I'm going to take you out in the canopy here and show you a little bit more information about these trees and give you a little bit close up so you know how to identify them. So the mulberry tree, the adult tree anyway, is easily identifiable by its large heart-shaped leaves. And when I say large, I mean big old boogers. Look how they are in comparison to my hands. And they've got ridges on the outside of their leaves. Now, the juvenile trees and the saplings have a different shaped leaf than the adult. And I'm going to give you an example of that here in a little bit. The juvenile tree actually has leaves that are similar to a sassafras tree. And when they're small, like seedling size, they can be confused for the same tree. But I'm going to see if I can't show you some ripe fruit. I know there's some on the ground, but I was curious if I could see some hanging. I do see some hanging way up in the trees. That's the thing about the sassafras trees. They do like to grow in the shade unless you plant them yourself. And they like creek beds and hollers, and and due to that reason they grow real tall because they're fighting for sun. So sometimes it's hard to get the fruit. See right there? That's a ripe one hanging on the tree. And that one right up next to it, see that light pink? You don't want to eat anything lighter than that because it'll be toxic, upset to your stomach. And I've heard if you eat these green ones, like this fella here, I don't know if my autofocus will focus in on that. But if you eat anything like that, and that berry, that green berry right there, and the sap from the tree. And that's the tree right there. We're going to get a close-up of it here in just a second. I've heard and I've read in multiple places that the sap and those green berries, aside from causing a very violent upset stomach, can make you hallucinate. And so you want to steer clear of that. I guess unless that's your thing, and I still wouldn't recommend that. But anyway, here's some ripe ones that are down on the ground. So you can get a little bit better view of it. My puppies. Rotten, rotten, rotten. Hey, good girl. Great Dane puppies. 10 weeks old. And little turkeys, I tell you. There's my other buddy. But yeah, right here, this is what you're looking for. This is the perfect ripeness. Why is this autofocus not working? There you go. And they're just as sweet as sugar. Even at that ripeness, it's quite edible. Quite sweet. Alrighty guys, where were we? I'm sorry about that little pause. I had some large trucks doing construction on the county road just over. Come flying up the road and beeping and honking with a lot of large equipment, and it was just obnoxious, so I had to stop for a minute. Now this mulberry is at the edge of my yard. I did not plant it here. It was my property, my home is in the woods. We literally just dozed a strip and made it work. But it's growing up next to an old stump here. But it gets a little bit of sun. Mulberries they like the shade. That's where they grow. They grow out in woods, creek beds, hollers, etc. like I said. But they do really well when they get partial sun, like this one. It'll make those low-lying branches, and you can reach up and get the fruit. So if you're going to plant these yourself from seedling, make sure you plant them in partial sun. A little bit of shade, a little bit of sun. That way they have those low-lying limbs so you can get the fruit, some fruit for yourself. Okay, just to kind of show you some of the trees that are around. Of course, we got maple, and these real tall little boogers here are tulip poplars. They grow real high. But yeah, right out there amongst all of them, if you look real carefully, you can spot those. Mulberry leaves. Like for example, there's a young mulberry. Let's take a little bit more of a walk here. There's a young mulberry right there. All right. I know there are some just over in here that are growing that are real tall. See, this fella right here, gal, I don't know the sex of trees. This one right here, it's real tall, as you can see. It's fighting for that sunlight out in the canopy. And so you're going to have a much harder time harvesting the berries from those. But what you can do is you can get right up underneath there and give those trunks a shake, and the ripe fruit will fall down. And if you got a sharp eye, you can get quite a few off the ground that way. But yeah, so like I said, the little birds really love mulberry trees. So they eat those fruits, and then what happens when they eat them? They pass them through their digestion. So, and that stratifies them, and they hit the ground and they grow into little saplings. And yeah, so if you've got a sharp eye, you can find some of those little mulberry saplings for yourself and plant them out in your yard for your own enjoyment and cultivation. Alrighty guys, so this is a juvenile mulberry. It's about 6 foot, yeah, a little over 6 foot. I'm 5'6", so 6.5 feet maybe. And this is what I was talking about the juvenile trees. This is what they call a ghost shape. That shaking is my dogs, my puppies down there. This is what they call a ghost shaped leaf. And they have that. Sometimes mulberry will have a more oval shaped leaf. And then more oftentimes than not, they have this, what they call a mitten. Now, the sun's really washing that out. But the sassafras tree also has this same leaf pattern, or a very similar one, so it can be confused. Now, what to look for to make sure you've got the right tree is those little teeth I was talking about. See that? The sassafras tree is more smooth. So you got the ghost and the mitten. And again, those little ridges. Alrighty guys, so in closing, a few more things I need to touch on. That road work kind of broke my concentration and I forgot a few things. If you are going to transplant some saplings from the woods, some seedlings, because like I said, the birds love them, they eat them, and where birds sit and chill, they're gonna poop, and then the seeds are gonna hit the ground. They're gonna stratify, and then they're gonna sprout seedlings. So if you got a sharp eye and you get out and you find you some of those, and you want to transplant them for yourself, so that you can harvest the berries, plant them at the edge of your yard where they get partial sun, partial light. Make sure you plant multiple seedlings if you don't have other mulberry trees, because the mulberry tree has a male and a female plant, and it's kind of hard to know. I have no idea how to look at a little plant and tell you if it's male or female, so I can't advise you in that direction. But in my opinion, it's better just to transplant multiple saplings so you'll get a variety, and surely you'll get a male and a female if you plant multiple trees, because a male tree will never bear the fruit. So you want to make sure you plant multiple seedlings. You can look around at some places. I think now they're starting to sell grafted trees, and you might be able to find someone local or at a specialty nursery that sells mulberry trees if you're interested in that. And I was going to mention too, interesting fact about mulberries is the Japanese folks would take the bark off these trees, and they would take the inner layer out and they would pound it down into like a slurry or a paste. They would spread it out and let it dry, and they would peel it and they would use that as paper, which I thought was kind of a neat little thing I read some time ago that I found interesting, that I thought you might enjoy. Let's see if there's anything else I can remember. I think that's going to do it for me. I think that's about everything. So I thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you found it at least a tiny bit informative, and thank you for bearing with me with all these interruptions. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys again. Take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you next time.